country is totally different from the other. There is a specificity that we have to respect and to deal with in order to be able to analyze what is going on and where what is going on will lead us to. For example, what has been achieved in Egypt and Tunisia while withdrawing the regime or the dictators that were ruling there actually triggered more the revolutions and the demonstrations in Syria, in Libya, in Yemen, in Bahrain. But for example, if we take the example of Bahrain, we cannot say that in Bahrain revolution started after the success of the Tunisian and the Egyptian, because since 1999 and later on in 2005 and even recently, there were big demonstrations and strikes and movements for the protesters, for what they now, the regime in Bahrain called Shia protesters, although we know that there are liberal Sunnis that are supporting the political and rights of the people that are demonstrating and protesting in streets.
The issue is not the longing of the Arabic world for democracy. The issue is that there's no viable democratic opposition. What's likely to happen is that there's just going to be another layer of dictators.
I actually have a similar comment here. I would like to. I really support the demonstrations and everything what is going on in Arab world at the moment. But is there any new elite which is coming out of it? If anyone can answer that to me.
All right, now let me take your question to Beirut and to Halal Khoshan. Halal, earlier in the show we had Dania Pipe suggesting, well, we do not know what's coming out of this. This is pretty much what she was saying in London, that, okay, what is a change? Change or continuity? And now, again, back to the question of Washington at one point supporting all these dictators, and now they're saying, all right, go. Are we simply waiting for democracy to take hold in this region? Are we waiting for the people to find their voice in their politics?
Well, people gain politically to the extent that they apply themselves. In order for change to happen, we need to have social forces. There is no question in my mind that social forces are beginning to rise in the region. And the pattern is uniform and unmistakable. But again, let's not have great expectations about an immediate transition to democracy. We are in the beginning of a long process of change. Yes, change is happening, and I don't think it is up to the US or any other Western country to determine the fate of the region, because it is the extent to which the people are able to apply pressure and make their voices heard and sustain their endeavor. I think eventually they will get a major slice in the political arena. So it is a question of a movement that is beginning to unfold. And let's not be too jumpy to run into conclusions. I think we are just witnessing the initial stages of a major transformation.
Now, let me pose Daniel Pipe's question back to himself. Change or continuity? And at some point in time, after World War II, we had Washington orchestrating all of this, simply what was happening. We had a U.S.-led West. Well, I think people would agree on that. Now, we have a U.S. that's saying, well, you say it's because it's Obama and partly because of the financial situation that is lurking into the background. The French, others are trying to take the lead. But then again, those cracks are becoming more ever evident between the European powers. Well, we have Russians and Chinese, on the other hand, that are kind of reluctant to all of this. And, well, they're watching all of this and they're thinking, all right, we're the future of this. Now, what do you see when it comes to the power politics and this, the equations changing and this huge tectonic shift?
What are the power politics in the West vis-a-vis the Middle East? Well, what we are seeing, as you suggested, is the emergence of differences. The differences have been there before, say, on Iraq. But the U.S. government used to try to lead. It is conspicuously not trying to lead now, trying not to lead now. It is conspicuously trying to be just one of the Western powers. And that is, as I said before, I think an experiment. I'm not completely unsympathetic to it. There is a certain appeal to it. I back in 1997, for example, I wrote an article in which I argued that the United States should be more modest. Why is it we, who are always taking the lead at that time versus Saddam Hussein? Surely there are others who are closer to him and more vulnerable to him than we are. Why don't we wait for them to invite us to take the leadership? Why are we always asserting ourselves and going to the front of the line? So a somewhat more modest American foreign policy is not unattractive to me, though I think Obama is going too far in trying to make the United States a minor factor. This is a big country with a powerful economy, a powerful military, and more than that, a powerful ideology. The ideology of the United States has been, in large part, for a century now, since Woodrow Wilson, to promote democracy. Democracy was a very minor phenomenon a century ago, and it's been the American role, for example, in post-World War II Europe, to promote democracy. In Eastern Europe, in the 1970s, in East Asia, in Latin America, in Africa, and until 2003, not in the Middle East. It was George W. Bush, for all his faults, I disagree with much of what he did, who said, time to end with stability and move towards democracy. I do not give him credit for what has taken place in the last few months, but I do think that he set into motion policies for the U.S. government that will be long-lasting. And indeed, if you look closely at what Barack Obama has been saying vis-a-vis the changes in Tunisia and Egypt and the now civil war in Libya, you see words that could have come from George W. Bush. So there has been a change. There has been a change in the United States. Back in 2003, from stability towards democracy, and I think that is a factor, a minor factor, but still a factor in what's happened today.
Now, a lot of countries, a lot of protests, but let's focus on one country, that being Libya at this point. And let's go to Gamal Gamati, a Libyan writer, political commentator. Gamal, the question is, what exactly is happening right now? Now, we've had 1973, the resolution by the UN. We've had bombings. We've had cries out there by China, Russia, and other international factors saying, you're killing people, civilians. This is simply uncalled for. We have reports that CIA operatives are on the ground helping the rebels. I don't know, to call them rebels, people, whatever the word. A lot of controversies over what to call them. And then arming them, training them, so on and so forth. We have people saying, since the U.S. pulled out, Gaddafi forces are gaining strength, and the international resolve is simply not there. So many divisions out there between the Europeans and NATO powers. Turkey trying to mediate, speak of some kind of a compromise between Gaddafi and the rebels, the so-called rebels. 3 countries are the only countries who have recognized the opposition at this point: Qatar, Italy, and France. So what exactly is happening, and what's coming out of all of this?
Okay, first of all, we have to remember that when the Libyan people started their peaceful demonstrations on the 17th of February, it was Gaddafi who chose to make this very violent and to start killing people indiscriminately en masse, unlike what happened in Tunisia and Egypt, where very few people were killed, and the army more or less played a neutral role. And for that reason, because of the bloody turn that Gaddafi made this revolution to, the international community had a responsibility to come and intervene and prevent the killings and protect civilians. The Libyan people are still on the same path. They are determined. There is a very strong resolve to carry on, pursue their revolution, to achieve the final objective for total regime change and to get rid of Gaddafi and his family, who have been in power for 42 years. Gaddafi has been the longest ruling dictator in the world, 42 years. And the Libyan people will accept nothing less than Gaddafi and his sons totally leaving power. Now, the dynamics are changing. The momentum is changing. Now, Gaddafi has lost legitimacy, and the Libyan people have now got legitimacy through their interim council. It's been recognized officially by some countries, and it's been engaged with by many other countries, although there is no official recognition. There is no way back for Gaddafi, absolutely no way back for him and his sons. It's just a matter of time. The Libyan people are very strong in their resolve to pursue this to the end. It might be costly, it might be bloody, but they will not go back. There is no return, because large parts of Libya are now free. The whole of the east, Misrata, a whole region in the western mountain, they have tasted freedom. They have tasted what it is like to be free of 42 years of sheer tyranny and oppression. So there is no way of going back. Now, the international role is to protect Libyan people.